Hi, everyone. Welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports, and Patrick Mahomes has done it again.
Was there ever a question?
No, not really.
I mean, the headlines are going to be and you were talking about it off air, 49ers choked it away, 49ers choked it away, Kyle Shanahan just can't get over the hump. I think it's just Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
yeah,
you know, it's a different, I guess, kind of storyline from the first Super Bowl they met a couple years back where, 49ers had a lead in the fourth quarter. They never really had neither team looked like they were dominating that entire game.
No.
I mean, 49ers started as best as you could in that first drive, driving down the field and then costly turnover by McCaffrey.
Yeah, and he's had that issue kind of throughout the year of, his fumbles, and especially it's almost like as drives are going good, he would have a fumble that kind of stalled him out. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs looked really bad, honestly. That first half, they had one good drive, and then they fumbled it away, on that drive. And then outside of that, they just didn't have anything going. They did get the field goal there, to close out the half. But the Chiefs are one of those teams, like if you just let them stay within that window of possibility of making a comeback, they're more than likely going to do it, especially in the playoffs.
And they got Mahomes. I mean, it's what the Ravens did against them. The Ravens were trying to come back, but, you got the interception by Lamar, and, you can't have those costly turnovers in these kinds of games to keep the Chiefs around. I mean, looking back at it now, just think about the block extra point.
Huge.
1 point.
Yeah.
1 point.
That made the difference.
1 point would have won the 49ers.
Exactly, because the Chiefs were just able to get a field goal at the end to force overtime, whereas they would have had to score a touchdown instead. So, I mean, that's a big difference. But, also outside of Mahomes, it's also Andy Reid. Because, I mean, that's the thing is, even with Mahomes, if you give him time, if you give Andy Reid enough time to figure it out, even when it's not going well for him and he's not calling the right plays and all that, if you give him enough time, he's going to figure you out and he's going to pick you apart. And that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah, there was they had a big explosive play that led to the fumble for the Chiefs. But, I mean, really, their offense didn't really click until that first touchdown. Look, got a Cowboys. Man, the Cowboys didn't make the Super Bowl.
Guess
they
what, Kyle?
Made a
365 days a year, I'm a Cowboys fan. God. We don't stop, baby.
Gee.
We don't stop.
Some do. It's almost baseball season. The Yankees are about to start playing. Yeah. But yeah, there was just nothing that popped off in this game to me.
No,
there really wasn't.
It did seem like it was two really good teams that weren't playing their best football, but they were both figuring it out to try and win the game. Yeah, because they did both just kind of, when they needed to do something, they did it. Yeah. It was just one of those ones where I think that the more experienced head coach, the more experienced, quarterback, they were able to figure it out more in the crunch times. And the thing is with like the Chiefs is like there's never panic, no matter when they're down. Even when you go into overtime, the 49ers drive down, get points, no panic. Patrick Mahomes just rolls out there and he's like, "We're going to do what we do." I mean, the fact that, and I didn't know that this was the overtime rule, is that it could go into a second quarter.
I think
as long as they are still possessing the ball with a chance to score, they could have let that clock run out and gone into a whole nother.
But as if they're tied, right?
No, the Chiefs, because the Chiefs have the opportunity to score a touchdown. If that clock would have ran out, the Chiefs, and they still had the ball. Okay. It would have gone to a whole another
so
overtime
that's why
period.
They weren't calling the
right.
The
that's why they were just letting it bleed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they kind of used that clock to their advantage, because the 49ers were just like, all right, what are they doing? Are they just going to let it go out? And then all of a sudden, snap, quick route, touchdown, game over.
That touchdown seemed like the most anticlimactic thing of all time.
It was the same way that they beat the Eagles.
I thought it was a penalty because, I think the 49ers just kind of knew when he caught the ball, the game was over, so they didn't even try. Yeah. But I really thought there was a penalty because nobody was moving.
That's why I really think that everyone was confused, because I was confused, sitting there watching it, because it's like, all right, time's bleeding out. But I heard Romo and Nance say, like, okay, well, they can go to another another quarter, basically, if they want to. They don't have to use their timeout here.
Yeah.
They don't have to rush a play. They can let it go out and go to another quarter. And I think the Chiefs use that knowledge to their advantage because the 49ers kind of look confused. Everybody was just kind of bouncing around, clock's burning down. Then all of a sudden, like I said, snap, throw, game.
Did you know Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah. They talked about that about as much as they talked about Taylor Swift.
It's crazy, and it's, we talked about this in the last episode. There's 2 weeks between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl.
Right.
And they've got to find some way to make, I guess you can say, headlines. But God, man, like you even said this when we were watching it, they should talk more about the next to last pick than the last pick.
Mr. Irrelevant is not irrelevant.
No.
He gets his own jersey with a name on the back, and especially if he ever is like, not even have to be Brock Purdy. Like if he just plays it all, they're always going to talk about it. Mr. Irrelevant,
Yep.
The guy before him is actually more irrelevant than he is.
I'm pretty sure Ryan Succop, who kicked at South Carolina, was Mr. Irrelevant, and he kicked for the Chiefs for a little bit. I think he won a Super Bowl with the Bucks. So I don't remember seeing that. Yeah, they really hammered in on that Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, they said they would hammer that. They would hammer Taylor Swift, and Tony Romo would handle this is for the Super Bowl. Like we get it, dude. But every play is not for the is not a deciding factor here. But towards the end of the game, it was extremely aggravating. I mean, he said that over and over and over.
I don't think they really showed Taylor Swift that much.
They really didn't. I think the over-under was like 6 or 7 to how many times they would show her. It was close.
And in Travis Kelce was pretty much quiet throughout the game until the very end. Because he had, that, I think they ended up kicking a field goal anyways. But that last drive to tie it, he had a big, 22-yard reception. Yeah. So he's still, it's enough.
He's just like Mahomes. He shows up.
Yep.
He can be quiet. They can not be doing well. But when they need to, they do it. I mean,
and then I also feel bad for Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, that was
Achilles.
Terrible. Yeah,
just
terrible injury.
I think he was celebrating a little bit on the punt return, and jumped up, tried to run, and
freak injury.
Now, I don't know if he tore his Achilles, but I know they're labeling it as an Achilles injury.
Yeah, not good. And the 49ers they dealt with the injuries throughout the game. Debo was kind of banged up.
He was pretty much non-existent. You got to give the Chiefs credit for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty much non-existent. I know he had a couple of runs, but in terms of the passing game, I don't think he was really there that much.
I think he had 3 catches for 33 yards. But again, wasn't fully. I don't think he was fully healthy going into the game, and then I think that he kind of tweaked something or did something on one play, and then after that, he was just kind of, like you said, non-existent.
It's crazy, and it's not crazy at the same time, but McCaffrey was the leading rusher and receiver for the 49ers.
Yeah. And the thing is, I saw an interview in a post game with one of the Chiefs defense players, and that's what they were saying. Like they knew if they could limit McCaffrey to, not being able to rush as much and force the game on to Brock Purdy, they knew that they, would be able to stay in it and win the game. And listen, I don't think that Purdy played bad.
No, I mean, his stat line was just as good as Mahomes.
And they call him a game manager. And let's be honest, he is.
He's not.
But the thing is, in my opinion, everybody except for 2 quarterbacks in the NFL are game managers. Yeah. That's what a quarterback is.
When they're knocking him because he's got weapons. Like, what do you want the kid to do?
Yeah.
I mean, is Dak Prescott a game manager? I mean, he's got CeeDee Lamb. I mean,
I'm telling you. In my opinion, every quarterback in the NFL is a game manager except for 2, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And those are the only 2 that can literally just go out there and do crazy stuff to win you games or keep you in games.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's game managers where they need the defense to play well. They need a running back. They need weapons.
Yeah, I hate that narrative. He didn't do anything. Because the
thing is, the Chiefs, they really didn't have a ton of weapons this year. I mean, offensively, they didn't, but Patrick Mahomes. And that's why you can say that he's not a game manager is because he was not given
He's like a Tom Brady, Payton Manning where they make the other players around them better.
Right,
where you can't say that about a lot of quarterbacks.
Exactly. But, and then, like I said, it falls kind of on Kyle Shanahan, though, is figure it out. Andy Reid figures it out.
I don't know, man. I think you could just confidently say last night was not Shanahan blowing it. It wasn't the 49ers blowing it. it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. They're inevitable. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and that's one thing if it was, a 3-point or 3-possession game.
Yeah.
But, in retrospect, just the Chiefs won. I don't think anybody blew that game last night.
No,
because neither team was like dominant.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's not like, they came out and just dominated, had their will with the Chiefs, and then something. Now, Brock Purdy had some, pretty not so good passes, but so did Mahomes. Like, exactly. I mean, you got to give credit to both defenses because they were getting good pressure on Mahomes.
Yeah, it
and
definitely
Purdy.
was more of a defensive game.
I mean, it's 25-22.
Both of these teams had some of the best defense throughout the year anyways. Yeah. So, I mean, you just always think of explosive offense when you have Mahomes, and you think of explosive offense the way that the 49ers just blew people out this year.
Yeah.
With the weapons that they did have, you would expect more, coming in. But, in games like that, it's just two teams that are so well-rounded facing each other that they're going to have to figure it out. It's not going to be some, amazing performance from one side or the other. And it's going to be two coaches slugging it out. It's going to be two, defenses, two offenses slugging it out, figuring it out. Things aren't going to go well every time.
Yeah, and it's Romo was saying this throughout the entirety of that final drive.
It's for the Super Bowl?
No, it wasn't for the Super Bowl, but just the Chiefs are comfortable in this situation. Like they know what they're doing. They don't panic.
There's no panic.
They've got a big time kicker in Harrison Butker.
Yeah.
So they're comfortable. Like they've got plenty of time.
Right.
I only think they called one timeout. I think on that final drive.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like they treated that. If you watch that final drive that won the Super Bowl, they treated it like it was just, opening drive of a regular season game. There was no hurry up. There was no, I think the only time I saw panic was when Travis Kelce, did what he did with Andy Reid after that fumble in the first half.
Man.
Which was...
I feel like they have that kind of relationship, though, because I remember...
I think that it looks worse than what it was.
Yeah. I don't think he meant to bump into him. I think you saw him grab his arm.
Right.
But you go back to, I can't remember what game it was during the regular season, but Travis Kelce threw his helmet on the sideline. Andy Reid was pissed. I mean, one of the equipment guys was trying to get his helmet to go back on the field, and Andy Reid was like, "No, sit his butt down."
Yeah.
And Andy Reid even went to him, and I mean, he gave him a chest bump. I just think that's kind of that relationship. It's just people trying to create drama that don't. I'm not going to say I've watched every Chiefs game.
Yeah.
But you can, certain, it's different in the NFL. And I think these coaches.
The other thing is sometimes you got to realize, for these players and coaches, is that game, this is some of the biggest moments of their professional career, and stuff wasn't going right. Yeah. And like I said, he wasn't on the field during that play. And, there's always maybe if I was out there, that fumble doesn't happen, I throw a block. Whatever. He thinks that he could have made an impact to not...
I think it was more so he wanted the ball.
That too.
I think so. Yeah.
That too. But the thing is like you said, they have that... and you don't see also how they communicate with each other at practice throughout the week.
Yeah.
They could have that relationship where they are just both in each other's faces and they respect each other and have that type of relationship. Now, it looks awful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Anything in slow motion looks awful.
But the thing is you've seen Andy Reid before... bench him for something that he didn't agree with the way that Travis Kelce was acting. So if he felt a certain type of way, there would have been something, that you would have seen from Andy Reid. There was no reaction from Andy Reid whenever it happened. So I think that the bump was unintentional.
Yeah.
I think it was just a fiery player that was ticked off in the moment.
He was screaming at him. I think his momentum just carried him a little bit farther. But yeah, I feel like just it's different. You won't ever see that in college.
Right.
But in the NFL, it's grown men. Andy Reid's been in the league for God knows how long.
Yeah.
I think it's just emotions get really high in those games, like you said, and it clearly didn't bother them. No. Or people, like I said, people were just trying to create something out of nothing.
I agree. But overall, congrats to the Chiefs. We both picked them to win.
Yeah. Smart people don't bet against Mahomes in those games. It doesn't matter. I mean, they even have said this throughout the entire postseason where the regular season wasn't what they wanted it to be.
Right.
He had the biggest cap hit coming in the offseason. They've got a lot of offseason acquisitions they need to make or decisions they need to make in terms of who they're keeping. So I know they have both teams have a lot of free agents.
Right.
So it'll be interesting offseason.
It's definitely going to be a where did they go from here?
Yeah.
But more so, I think, for the 49ers. Because, like I said, you've seen the Chiefs have, like, all these dynamic players and win. And then you've seen them not have these super dynamic players and win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's when you look at the Chiefs offseason, nobody's really going to question any kind of moves they make.
Yeah.
If they let a player go, if they acquire a player, who they draft. They're just going to trust that if you get them into the dance, that they're going to do a jig.
And it's looking back at what Dan Campbell said after the NFC Championship game. You know, he told his players, we may not ever make it back here. And it's crazy to look at it because it seems like it's easy for the Chiefs, kind of like how it was for the Patriots, where it's like you expect them to be there. Yeah. But it's, you know, these other teams where they don't have a Mahomes, it's like, will they make it back? You never know.
And Pat McAfee's talked about it before, that his rookie season, they made it to the Super Bowl and they lost that game. And, you know, he was in the locker room like, all right, you know, we'll be back next year. He never made it back.
I thought they won a Super Bowl.
No. They won the Super Bowl before McAfee got there.
Who did they play? Were they played the Seahawks?
I believe so. I can't remember. But no, I mean, he made it to his Super Bowl his rookie season and never made it back. And he's talked about that before. It's like, you can make it to one, and you're lucky if you get there for one. So what the Chiefs are doing, what the 49ers are doing is crazy. It's just they got to get over that hump. And they've done it multiple ways. They've had, you know, Jimmy G, who was the high-paid quarterback that came in, that Kyle Shanahan wanted. Then they went the opposite route where they go with rookie quarterback that can get it done. Let's give him all these weapons.
Yeah.
They make the trades. I mean, the 49ers front office does
they did
everything they can to get them there and win. It's just...
But at the end of the day, it's Mahomes. It's Reid. It's Kelce. You look at any sport, though. I mean, it's... Just because you have the best lineup or make all these right moves doesn't mean it's always going to be beneficial.
Exactly.
So,
and then going into the offseason will be, will the Chiefs be able to do a three-peat? No team in NFL history has won 3 in a row.
I mean, in terms of the AFC,
don't bet against them.
I don't know. I don't see how you can pick against them.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the year it was supposed to be the Ravens. Well, it's time for Jackson to put up, or not shut up, but he's the only multi-MVP winner not to win a Super Bowl.
Yep. Sure. MVP. Sure. He won it. But, you know, obviously there's Super Bowl stuff surrounds the Super Bowl. Commercials were trash.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 good ones.
Yeah. I think I've said this before where with the day and age of social media now, these companies don't have to spend millions of dollars. No. And you could tell there wasn't many because they just kept showing CBS
shows.
Yep.
I mean, there was 2 or 3 in a row, like every commercial break of CBS shows.
That and they're not even showing like movie trailers anymore. They're just doing teasers and saying the full thing is online because it's less money. They're
just trying to drive them to their... They're going to pay for a 15-second clip versus a 60-second and just drive them to their social media.
I mean, especially with these, excuse me for spitting, with these trailers, they're 2.5 minutes long, almost 3 minutes long. Mm-hmm. Just think how much in terms of money that will cost you. We got somebody new every week choking on this show.
Pause it there. All right. What were we talking about? Commercials?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're back. I almost died there on camera.
I tell you, man, it's every week. It's me.
We try to drink something so that we don't cough a lot, and then we end up choking on what we're drinking on.
And you had Zeb sneezing last week, me coughing every other week. You choke and you can't even drink properly. Do you need a bottle or something?
Maybe so.
Bring one of your kids' bottles next time.
I guess so. I about died there. But yeah, the commercials just stunk. The Duncan commercial was good with Ben Affleck and all them.
The Budweiser.
In my opinion, the Jesus commercials were good.
Yeah.
Obviously, people are going to take those how they want.
I've already seen TikToks about them.
Outside of that, I can't. I mean, the Budweiser one was okay. There was nothing really to it.
Here's
the thing: is like all these big names that normally put out Super Bowl commercials, like Doritos. Didn't see one for them. I don't think I saw a Ford, Chevy, Dodge. I don't think I saw any of them. Volkswagen was the only car dealership that I saw.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back.
Pepsi, Coke. There was one, I think, Mountain Dew commercial.
Yeah, that was the Baja Blast, though.
Yeah.
So it was because I think it's the 20th anniversary of the Baja Blast. So it had like Nick Offerman but again, I think just these with how expensive it's becoming.
Yeah.
It's just not.
It doesn't make sense.
And we were talking about this, like, what if Mountain Dew, and they did do this, but let's go Doritos, because I don't think we saw a Doritos commercial.
I didn't.
What's them spending all that money trying to come up with like a creative commercial?
It's not going to drive more like, Dorito sales.
If somebody doesn't know what a Dorito is,
yeah,
I don't think they have.
I think the one that was trying to drive it the most was at homes.com. They had like 3 or 4.
And because I think it's in line with like the apartments.com.
I think that they're trying, after Zillow kind of went bankrupt or whatever, I think this homes.com is trying to take over like the national realty thing.
Yeah.
So now for them, it kind of makes sense because they're trying to jump into this market that they're going to try and take over what Zillow had or whatever. So, but outside of them, like Dunkin', they're not going to gain it. Nobody's going to go buy more coffee because of that.
I never thought about going to Dunkin' Donuts, but I saw Tom Brady, J-Lo, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon, so I kind of want Dunkin' Donuts.
The Uber Eats commercial was good with Jelly Roll and his face tattoos.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
But other than that, there was nothing. I mean, every commercial break, we were just like, all right, where's the hitters at? And then it was just like, watch this CBS show.
Yep, we saw.
And the bad thing about it was just the same shows. Like they're not even putting out new shows.
It was Tracker.
Yeah, it was Tracker that started after the Super Bowl and Fire Country, and then Stephen Colbert and the other girl whose late night show's coming out, and they just repurposed those same ones over and over.
But it's just nobody's buying them. Yeah, and they did the Paramount Plus one, which is CBS.
But the thing is that was one of the best ones, but we had already seen it the week before.
That came out I swear right after the championship games.
Right. I mean, they put it out. Everybody had already seen it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's everything. And we said it beforehand that we didn't think that there was going to be much to the commercials because of social media. But, maybe it'll drive the price down, and then we'll get a year where they say, all right, maybe it's worth $1 million just to jump back into the game.
Yeah. No, I think with
they gain nothing.
Like I said, with the day and age of social media, they reach more by doing that.
Right. They gain nothing. The only other thing that you could do is maybe like these movie trailers are doing is do the little 15-second quick hitters to drive you to the social media or to their website, but nobody's going to go out and buy a new Ford truck just because they saw a Super Bowl commercial.
Speaking of driving people, I think a lot of people fell in love with Usher last night.
Yep.
I thought he was going to get naked up on the stage. He took his shirt off.
That was definitely a halftime show built for our generation because that was all the songs that we grew up on.
Yeah. It looked like a circus out there. You had people, it looked like shooting out of cannons or jumping on trampolines.
And the good thing is like in Vegas, they have access to all of those performers that do those shows. It's not like they had to fly these people in. Like they probably just went to all the hotels and show places in Vegas and said, hey, bring your people out for the halftime show. We'll just fill up the entire field.
Did you like the cameos or the featuring artists?
Oh, yeah. It was all Atlanta artists. It was all, I mean, when we were texting in family group chat, my brother, who's obviously 12 years younger than me, he was like, it was just too fast. Like, they just went from one song to the other. And I was like, no, like, for us, like, there was so many of those songs that we knew. Just give me the little one-liners, and then it's the next one. Oh yeah, I remember that.
But that's how the Super Bowl halftime performances usually are.
Yeah,
where they just play.
Especially if you have an artist that has a bunch of hits. Like, give me the hits.
I mean, that's how Rihanna
run it together.
Who was the year before Rihanna? Dr. Dre and all them. Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige.
It was definitely
it's always just like a snippet of their popular songs.
It's a medley
because they don't have a lot of time. Because if you play a whole song. Okay, you're probably going to get to sing 2 songs.
Yeah.
And nobody I would love to sing the full minute or full version of the songs, but sometimes you just hit that pop.
Yeah.
Like you did with
That's all you need.
John and
That's
Ludacris.
all you need in the Super Bowl. You're getting a 20-minute concert. We'll see
I didn't
how many.
feel like it was 20 minutes.
Yeah, probably not. It's probably 15 somewhere in there.
I feel like it didn't last like 8 minutes. I don't know. It was quick.
Yeah. But that's what you got to do. Just give them the hits. But I think that was a good one. I wouldn't say it was the best of all time.
No.
But it was definitely better than last year. And like I said, for us, for our generation, you gave us the hits you brought out. And especially for, I guess people in the South who always, a music scene in the South, they look towards Atlanta. And that's basically what Usher did. He brought out everybody. And he said at the end of I brought the world to the A. And
is Alicia Keys from Atlanta?
I'm pretty sure that
I thought she was from New York.
Could have be wrong. Maybe she is. But for the most part, everybody that he brought out there was Atlanta-based.
Yeah.
I also like that he did with like Alicia Keys and with her. I know I may have to explain that H period, E period, R period, her. That's the name of the artist. That really confused you last night when you were like, who is that? And I was like, it's her. It was like, who? It's her. I had to say that like 15 times before Kyle finally got it.
Yeah, she was born in New York City.
But I like that he kind of let them sing a snippet of their own songs before he went into whatever he had sang with them.
Yeah.
As a featured artist. But for the most part, it was Atlanta-based artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, good halftime show. Good Super Bowl overall. Besides the commercials were kind of a letdown, but the game was decent.
Yeah.
Especially at the end. It was one exciting. To remember. Halftime show was good. Now we just look forward to next year when the Cowboys win it.
What, a game?
I saw
a game?
One tweet where Taylor Swift was in Japan at the time, and they were talking about was she going to make it back to the Super Bowl? Well, she was so many miles away from, where she was in Japan was however many miles to Las Vegas, and they were like, she's still closer to a Super Bowl than the Panthers will ever be.
Or the Cowboys.
The way it's going, yeah.
Yeah. Again, the Panthers have been to the Super Bowl more recently than the Cowboys.
Somebody, where's the participation
I'm
trophy?
Just saying, you started it.
Where's the participation trophy?
Keegan-Michael Key made good fun of them at the awards banquet.
I didn't even watch
show
it.
Thursday.
About the Panthers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of the award show, Lamar Jackson, MVP, Christian McCaffrey, was he the offensive player? Myles Garrett, defensive player, and there was some controversy with that one.
Yeah,
with Myles Garrett.
I just if you're going off statistics, yeah. But
sometimes you can't, as a defensive player, you can't really go wholly off of statistics because there's certain things that, especially a defensive end, they're going to impact the game where a sack may happen and it's all because of them, and they never touch the quarterback.
Yeah.
Just because they draw so much attention, like a J.J. Watt, a T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, all these players, they draw so much attention that sometimes the other players benefit from it. So they're making an impact. And I really think that, especially for Myles Garrett, is like, let's say the Cowboys, for example, you got Micah Parsons, but DeMarcus Lawrence is a huge name as well. So it's not like, there isn't some other name. But with Myles Garrett, it's like, when you think of the Browns defense, you think of Myles Garrett. And so even though he doesn't have all of the stats, like they had one of the best defenses, in the in national football this year, and it was solely because of the impact that he made, even whenever he wasn't making a play.
I had an old roommate, and this was when the Panthers had they lost one game in the regular season, made it to the Super Bowl, and Luke Kuechly, I think, won Defensive Player of the Year that year, which it was very warranted.
Right.
And I think it was one of his coworkers was a Bucs fan and was talking about, I think it was Levante David.
Yeah.
And how, he was like, well, look at his his sacks stuff. I was like, but they play two different positions. Right. I was like, Luke Kuechly is not a player that blitzes. He's, he's not somebody that they're two different. You can't compare the two because they're not the same.
It's an impact award.
Yeah.
It's who's making the most impact on their team.
And it normally goes to the best teams.
Right.
I don't think the Bucs were that good that year.
Right.
Panthers were.
You normally see there's always going to be players on teams that have amazing stats, and then the team is just not winning. So they're not, how much of an impact are you truly making, even though you've got to have the stats.
Yeah. And like I said, it's Lamar Jackson, multi MVP winner. Doesn't have the Super Bowl.
He didn't have the stats either. Here's the thing. It's like he had the impact that he made on his team to call him the most valuable player. But they even showed that Derek Carr had better stats than Lamar Jackson all season. More touchdowns, more yards, better completion percentage, all these things. And he was considered trash all year, and Lamar is the MVP. So it's just that sometimes it's just the impact that you make. It's also when you turn it on. And Lamar Jackson kind of turned it on in the last quarter of the season, and that's when they say who is the best.
Just not in the playoffs.
Right, exactly.
Just not in the playoffs.
Joe Flacco, NFL Comeback Player of the Year over Damar Hamlin. I don't mind it. Damar Hamlin didn't play much.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it should have just been like in this what happened with him last year. Maybe it should have been like a special award or like a achievement award because it's like it was there for the taking for the NFL just kind of give it as you know, like a good grace maybe. And the thing is, Joe Flacco didn't really come back from anything. Like when I think of comeback,
but the thing is what he did. If it was between those two,
yeah. But when I think of like comeback player of the year, like okay, what happened to them for them to come back?
Right.
Like did somebody get injured? Like you know, if somebody last year tore their Achilles, and come back next year and have a dang good season,
right?
That in turn, and for me, would be comeback player of the year, where Joe Flacco just hasn't been in the league.
Right. Well, there was nobody like Damar Hamlin did have what happened to him, but he didn't play all year.
I know.
I mean, there was a lot of times where he was just a scratch. He wasn't even on the 53 but it came down to these two. And I think that Joe Flacco made more of an impact on what he did because he came off the couch and basically rescued the Browns season to keep them in and, you know, win games. So sure, he didn't have an injury or something that he was technically coming back from, but he did come back and make an impact. And I think that's in the end why he got that award.
It's again, I think they could have done something for Damar Hamlin, but again, I'm sure he wouldn't want that.
No. Again, that's just one of those awards that it's kind of weird because there is no set thing to say what determines a comeback player of the year. Like you said, you're going to have 1 year where it's a player that comes back from a huge injury and has a great year, and then you have a year like this where there wasn't really like a player that came back from some
It's kind of like the
injury.
MVP where there wasn't somebody that just stood out all season.
Yeah,
where it's like that's the MVP.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's the same thing. I feel like with with majority, like maybe with offense and defense, but it's all like it's all personal opinion.
Right.
You know, you got Steelers fans that think TJ Watt should have been the MVP.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the defensive player of the year.
And you can make that argument for him because I mean he did have the best stats. And the thing is like
I feel like his stats are always going to be there.
With the Steelers, it's like there's kind of like the Browns. There is no other like big name that you think about opposite of him.
Their defense.
Yeah. So I mean, it is like if he's making the most impact and has the stats as well.
Yeah.
Obviously that award could have went to.
Yeah,
it was deserving of all.
You're going to piss somebody off regardless.
Right, exactly.
And speaking of the Steelers, I think the Walter Payton Man of the Year award is probably the most important. It's definitely one that I think carries the most pride.
Yeah,
because you can see how much when Cam Hayward were speaking or whenever he did it before the game, you could see how much it meant to him.
Right. It definitely means a lot to these guys. And obviously they go out of their way to do these charitable works, and I don't think that they really do it to win an award. And that's probably the best thing about it is when they get recognized for. They don't go out at the beginning of the year and say, "All right, we're going to do X, Y, and Z so that I win Walter Payton Man of the Year."
Yeah.
Obviously that's a huge bonus when they do win it because obviously it's a recognition to what they've been doing and also their charities or what they're doing, bringing awareness to that. So, I think that a lot of players, it's a respect thing. Nobody's going to argue somebody deserved it over the other.
And you never really know who it's going to be. The only time I think you could, know who was going to win it was when the Hurricanes hit Houston that year and
J.J. Watt.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he raised $50 million.
Yeah, he did a lot
for that city. Like, that's.
And it was something like that during. When it was going on, there was attention to it. Like these charities outside of if it's your favorite player, you really don't know a whole lot of like the events that they're having, their charity work that they're doing. It just kind of shows up this time of the year and you're like, oh, okay, he did that.
Yeah. And it's what it normally, it's usually not national centered. It's all just local. Whatever, Pittsburgh related or Charlotte related or Dallas related.
Exactly.
So unless it's like a national thing that they're
like the hurricane.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Yeah. So congrats to all those guys. Sports Roundup, Waste Management. Whew. That got out of hand.
It turned into how the in Happy Gilmore how the tour was, and the thing is, the PJ Tour kind of allowed it to get there.
Yeah.
But it's
because that event's gained more traction every year because of how they let it kind of be
and
free.
It's always been, I think, for a long time it was more for like rowdy ruckus.
Yeah.
And they built that stadium around the 16th hole. Yep. I think they've just kind of let it get a little out of hand, which, these golfers, they want to make all this money. Golf is not like any other sport where, you could be the golfer and I could be standing right here at you. Yeah. Where in football, outside of players being on the sideline, you're not close to players.
Yeah.
Basketball,
the NBA will be about the closest to golf.
Baseball too. But you see these players snap back at these fans.
Right.
And the thing is with golf, it's just like in tennis where if you're about to hit and somebody screams, it throws you off and you may shank a shot. I know there's a video of Billy Horschel like cussing out a fan yesterday because there's a golfer hitting and they're just talking, while he was swinging, and luckily it didn't, bother him where it messed up his swing. But yeah, I mean, the Waste Management, they cut off alcohol sales. People were going to the hospital. There's videos of it looked like a NASCAR race. Yeah. I like NASCAR, but that's just what it is. It's a huge party.
It's completely opposite of what you see every other weekend with golf.
Especially for golf.
And like I said, it gained kind of a lot of traction over the years, I think, to where it's like steadily getting more rowdy each year, and then they just hit this point where it's just like, all right, this is just too much.
And normally it's just contained to that 16th hole, but it's kind of filtered out. I mean, the
problem is as it grows, like you can only get so many people there, so then it's kind of like when a big city people start moving there. Eventually, it just feeds into the smaller cities where people are building houses and stuff. It's the same way with this. It's like, all right, this gained popularity. People are coming more and more each year. You can only get so many people at the 16th hole. So now it's turning into, well, I can't get to that hole, but we can be rowdy over here at the 14th.
Yeah. And it's, and I think the players enjoy it because it's just for one hole, like on the 16th, it's like there's really no rules where, they encourage fans to be loud.
Right.
Or, if somebody hits a hole in one, they throw beers all over the place, which I think the players don't like that because it's a huge delay and it kind of gets you out your rhythm playing. I'm anxious to see.
One hole is different, but when it bleeds into all right, it's almost turning into an 18-hole thing, and we got to do this 4 days in a row.
And you're always going to have issues with like people talking in golf courses, anyways.
Right.
It's just it is what it is in this day and age, and it's almost like a gotcha moment where they try to do that to get a reaction out of these players.
Yeah,
I know Zach Johnson said something there's speculation on what they were like giving him crap about, but I think it was about the Ryder Cup when he was the captain this past Ryder Cup. I mean, he called him out on it, and I think it's okay. I think that's okay.
Yeah. The other thing is
a fan shouldn't be, exempt from criticism.
Yeah.
If you're doing something to try to throw these guys off their game or whatever, when they're playing for a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I think these players have every right to clap back at these fans.
Yeah. It is, and it's different. You have like you said, NBA, MLB fans are kind of right there, but it's loud the whole time.
Yeah.
So when fans are, chewing at players and stuff, they can hear it, and it's kind of it is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, but when in golf, when it's like supposed to be dead silent, and then you got somebody just.
I mean, it's just like tennis, where it's they actually do need that. They don't need the sudden like burst out,
right?
That because it throws them off.
Yeah.
It does the same thing in tennis. I'm anxious to see how they do it next year because, like I said, it was all intents and purposes. It was a shit show.
Yeah, they got to figure it out. The Gamecock men's basketball finally gets ranked, and they jumped when they finally got in there.
We probably won't be ranked this week because we barely beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
We were losing at halftime to Vanderbilt, but we ended up winning by 15 points. What'll happen is because these big teams that were in front of us lost, they'll probably still be ranked ahead of us.
Yeah, for sure. They won't fall much just because
Let's see if
of who they
rankings
are.
Out. Yeah.
But I think the best part about the South Carolina men's team is they're very consistent. You know, they play their game the entire game, even when sometimes it's not working. Like against Vanderbilt, like they played their game.
Yeah.
The Vanderbilt was kind of hot to start with, and then South Carolina they don't panic, they don't change anything up, they just keep playing their game, and then eventually they win. Same thing with Ole Miss. Is like, all right, they got up big, and then Ole Miss started crawling back, didn't change anything, just kept playing their game. You saw it each and every game. It's like they play their game. They also know how to, you know, outside of one game this year, I think if they start out cold shooting, they eventually heat up. But outside of that Alabama game, that was the only time where they were cold and just stayed cold. Yeah. Like they figured out, and then they also are. I think they're a very unselfish team because when a player is cold, he'll realize it. Like you've had games where Meechie Johnson is just ice cold, and he just dishes. He just gets it to the right player who's hot, and they find the hot hand.
And Lamont was even saying, it's like, listen, Meechie. You know, he benefits his team other ways than just scoring.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
And I think they're all like that. I think that they all recognize that, like, all right, we don't have to depend on a G.G. Jackson to win us games, and that's our guy.
Yeah.
They have whoever's on the five that's on the court at any moment, each one of them could be the guy, and they know how to find that person, and that's why they're winning.
It's crazy how less than 2 years into his reign, you know, his people's opinion or Gamecock fans' opinion of Lamont Paris has change very quickly.
Yeah.
But that's the good thing about basketball. It's like it doesn't take a 4 to 5 year rebuild.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you get a couple good players out of the portal and a couple good freshmen and you're fine.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is he's done this in his second year. And let's just say it doesn't go well into the tournament. They win one game or something like that. The thing is he's built up such a following now and just shows that, okay, we can do this. They've already got some good freshman incoming. I mean, they got that point guard that plays in those.
He's 2025. Yep. So next.
Yeah. I mean,
I keep forgetting it's 2024.
And then now with the portal, like you get people like BJ Mack, who was dominant at Wofford, comes in and just, you know, makes a huge impact in the SEC. Into which I think that the SEC is probably one of the better conferences this year in basketball, and at least in terms of how many teams are ranked within the top 25.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. It's all. Our basketball is always finicky because sometimes teams are just not on. I don't think Kentucky's as good as they normally are.
Right.
I know some of their fans are kind of tired of John Calipari. Yep. But, you know, we'll see. And that's the one thing I love about basketball. Like, you don't have to be a Goliath to win.
Well, like when South Carolina made their Final Four run, like, they definitely weren't.
But they got hot at the right time.
And that's
everything
the thing
was
like,
clicking for them.
Even if whoever, you know, with, you know, Purdue and whoever's the top teams throughout this whole season, like you get to the tournament, somebody can a Wofford, a South Carolina, somebody can just get hot and make a run through like South Carolina did on that Final Four run. Yeah. They just got hot and they were playing better than everybody at the time.
And you see it every year. There's always upsets in the tournament, and that's the one thing I love about basketball. It's, you know, a smaller school can make it to a Final Four.
Yep. And just to wrap it up, I guess. This probably ain't going to be our most talked about, but Manchester United gets their win. West Ham, which is my team, is just faltering right now. But neither one of them are going to win the Premier League, so it doesn't matter.
West Ham stinks now.
Yeah.
God.
Well, it is what it is.
I'm pretty sure Man U's got who do they have next weekend? They'll probably lose 8-0 next weekend. What
probably so. Neither one of them's winning the Premier League. But as you look that up, I guess now that NFL's done,
y'all got Nottingham Forest this Saturday. Oh, Manchester City, Chelsea plays this weekend. Paul, sorry for that loss. And Man U's got Luton Town, so that should be hopefully 3 points.
We're getting right towards March Madness will be coming up soon.
F1 starting soon. Going to do a special episode for that.
You'll be by yourself.
That's fine.
Just put one camera on Kyle to talk about F1, whatever that is.
There's a lot of news going for F1 this offseason. It's been a crazy. I haven't been following it that long. This is going to be my first year really watching it.
We're going to talk about pickleball.
The entirety of the F1 season. But yeah, there's been a lot of noise this offseason leading into the first race in Bahrain. I think it's in Bahrain.
Sure, I don't even know what you're saying right now.
Oh, dude, F1's amazing. It's so much.
Sure,
and it's like the Premier League
they
soccer.
just make a few other turns.
It's road courses. It's all road courses. They're going very much faster than NASCAR cars go.
But they're still just kind of going in a loop.
But the thing is, you got to think about it. You're going like, okay, when you leave here, take your car, and when you get that stop sign, don't stop, and then
I don't,
and do that going like 90. That's what they do.
I mean, they're definitely the best at what they do.
It's a lot of fun, and it's just like Premier League, where the majority of the time they're in different countries,
right?
So these races are done before like 10 a.m.
Watch it over breakfast.
And another good thing about it is, I don't think races can last more than 2 hours.
You're not convincing me. You could do this F1 episode on your own.
Paul's going to be here.
But yeah, we'll get into March Madness. MLB will be starting up. College football.
College baseball starts this weekend.
College baseball. You're going to have spring football starting up.
Yeah.
Finishing up. We're going to do some recap episodes on both Clemson and Carolina. Kind of how their season went.
Yeah.
Recruiting, transfers.
Coaching staff changes.
Yeah,
South Carolina just had one this past week.
Looking into next season, so a lot of variety coming up, I believe.
Yeah.
So
NBA still going on.
Yep.
Which I don't.
NBA will be the playoffs will be starting here in the next few months.
He's a Celtics fan, so he's
best
got
in the
every
league.
He's got every part of the
best
country.
Team in the league.
He's got every part of the country.
Hey, don't just solidify yourself to one area. Branch out. Go find some teams. Yeah.
Like Steven did.
Because it ends up being like you are. Like the Hornets suck. The Panthers suck.
I don't care about I don't if the Hornets lose, if they lose every single game, it does not change my day at all.
The Gamecocks suck.
Yeah, they're the only team that pisses me off. That can get a reaction.
The good thing is right now the basketball team is good. Both men and women.
Dude, the women beat UConn yesterday.
The baseball team's supposed to be they're ranked in the top 25 going into the preseason. South Carolina softball team's ranked in the top 25.
Are they?
Yep, ranked 22.
Wow. Okay.
13 to 15 winter sports for the University of South Carolina are in the top 25.
Hot dog.
So
people that aren't hating.
We're looking at you, Beamer. Get it together.
People aren't hating Ray Tanner anymore, I guess.
Unless Beamer doesn't do something, that's the breadwinner. That's the moneymaker. If you can't get it done in football, unfortunately, most people don't really care outside of that.
But again, you gotta allow time for it to, especially with the day.
He's got a year.
Listen, I got to get out of here. I could talk for another two hours about Beamer and our football program.
He's got a year.
That'll be another episode.
Yeah, we'll do a whole one on that. So we'll see you next week. Congratulations to the Chiefs. 2024 Super Bowl champs. It'll be in 25, but it'll be the Cowboys. So
I guess they'll give them a
see you next year.
Trophy.
Mark it down. I'll probably be wrong.
All right.
See you next
You're
week.
going to be wrong.